afternoon. You're watching NewsX and I am Mazargues. The top focus this hour, developments that are taking place in France. While Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in France, he's there to co-chair the Paris AI Action Summit with President Emmanuel Macron for the first leg of his two-nation tour. After his France visit, PM Modi will then head to the United States of America to meet President Donald Trump. In a post on social media platform X, PM Modi shared highlights from the memorable welcome in Paris. PM Modi was greeted by French President Emmanuel Macron at a welcome dinner. At the dinner, PM Modi also met newly elected US Vice President Vance, who is in France to attend the AI summit. During the France visit, PM Modi will hold discussions in both restricted and delegation formats and address the India-France CEOs Forum. Macron and PM Modi will visit the city of Marseille and inaugurate an Indian Consulate there. The two leaders will also visit Mazargues War Cemetery, maintained by the Commonwealth War Graves Commission in Marseille, and pay tribute to the sacrifice made by Indian soldiers in World War I. During the visit, India and France will announce small modular reactors, boosting civil nuclear cooperation. An India-France triangular development cooperation initiative is also likely to be launched. The two countries will declare 2026 the India-France Innovation Year and launch a logo. That's, of course, the big development that we are tracking on the broadcast. In fact, joining us at this point of time is a very special guest. We're being joined by Mr. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, National Security Program at ORF. So thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX. How do you view the developments that are taking place at this point of time? The fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron are now co-chairing the Paris AI Summit.
Thank you. Just to clarify, I'm no longer at ORF, I'm at IPCS. But the AI summit is particularly important because you see two countries have taken the lead on this. The first has been America for obvious reasons, and the second of late has been China, as we increasingly realize DeepSeek has done a lot of copying of data, stealing of chips from Taiwan, and then produced its AI product DeepSeek. Now in this, the only way the rest of the world can catch up to this is by pooling its synergies together, which is where France and India come in. France, because it has access to certain kinds of technology which India still doesn't have, and India because of its sheer numbers of programmers and the bulk we bring to the market. Now, in this, again, there is a second aspect, which is that most of the public AI available is overwhelmingly rubbish. The problem with public sourcing of information is it becomes a popularity contest, not an accuracy contest. And it isn't very good AI as a result. You look at things like military AI and things like that, they are far, far more superior because the inputs are very, very credible. They are based on cause-effect actions. They are very specific to the job, and they tend to progress much faster. So if you look, China has already introduced, independently driving cars. Tesla just premiered its model of independently driven cars yesterday or day before, I think. And that's going to be applied across several cities in America over this year. Now, with India, of course, the problem itself is much more complex. We're a much more diverse country, many, many more languages. There is no one common link language or anything like that. And with France, it's a huge industrial power base which is looking for markets essentially. Now that is where the AI conference comes in, to set up rules of the game, to set up the parameters of the game. And this is where, it's really important for India because we're one of two people now at the global third pillar high table, if you want to call it that. And the very fact that America is also attending here might mean that you will get significant inputs from America, which could give us a very significant head start.
All right, absolutely. We've, of course, now you've touched upon military AI. Now, of course, when we, talking about nuclear energy over here, nuclear energy and AI are now, sort of being seen as hand in hand. With this development, how do you see that progressing?
So the reason you need AI is an extremely power intensive algorithm, if you want to call it that, right? You need huge amounts of energy. This is why you need, more nuclear reactors, that concentrate a huge amount of power in a very small footprint. I mean, you look at a nuclear reactor and the amount of energy a modern French reactor produces, the European pressurized heavy water reactor. If you look at the footprint of it, it is much smaller than, say, a solar field, a wind field, or something like that. The waste that comes out of it is very little, so it's actually very sustainable. Nuclear is, in fact, one of the safest, most sustainable, and cheapest forms of energy that you have. And AI is also very useful in the nuclear field because a nuclear reactor is extremely complex. You can avoid some, not all, human errors. There is a danger, of course, when you look at AI as a substitute for human capacity. But when you have high human capacity, AI becomes very important in preventing any of the errors which could eventuate in a nuclear reactor. So it's both ways. Nuclear supports AI, AI reduces any risk associated with nuclear.
All right, fair enough. Sir, I also have another question for you. Of course, there is an understanding between India and France as far as AI is concerned, but in your assessment, do you think it can pave way for other countries in the EU to do the same?
It could. The issue is other EU countries need to be taking this very seriously. Europe is so bogged down in its own culture wars and things like that. There is very little bandwidth for them to be expanding over and above what they're doing at the moment. Let's not forget, possibly the richest country, the richest big economy in Europe, Germany, is as poor as the poorest state in America. Right. So there is very limited bandwidth. There are huge financial crises looming over Europe. AI requires a lot of money. Let's not forget this. The thing about software is it is horribly expensive to develop. It is free to duplicate. Once you've developed the technology, say Microsoft Word or something, I can just copy your key, your product key, and copy it into a single USB stick. Very cheap. But the development costs money. Where's the money going to come from? That's the big issue out here.
Right, absolutely. There was a visual that came from the LC Palace where we saw JD Vance, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Emmanuel Macron standing together. With that being said, how do these three countries then come together, and what's the impact that it is going to have in the next 5 years as far as AI is concerned, as far as defense is concerned, as well as nuclear energy?
So in terms of defense, India is manufacturing a lot of top-notch actual hardware, which goes to America and is now integrated into America's global military supply chains. As far as AI goes, the only real input is Indians in America per se, the highly trained Indians. We're yet to see a particularly impressive product, AI product, come out of either India or out of France. That said, it makes a lot of sense for America to then outsource a lot of the controlled AI development to India and France for their own expertise in these things. So if you look at it, there's a great deal of synergy. France with its heavily military part of the military industrial complex, and India with the bulk it brings into just throwing code at people. Google, as you know, has announced the first breakthroughs in quantum, and once that comes through, it becomes a lot easier to start leveraging France and India into the entire game.
Right, so absolutely. With that, I'd like to thank you for joining us on the broadcast, sharing your perspectives